What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. This is Eric. Today we're talking about David Copperfield. This is a show that happens every single day at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, and it is done by the great illusionist David Copperfield. And I'm a massive fan of David Copperfield going back to the 1980s. I used to watch every single special, going back to making the Statue of Liberty disappear, walking through the Great Wall of China, escaping from Alcatraz, flying around the room, the one where he gets sawed in half. I was just blown away. And so many other great illusions that he has done. And he would tour the world, but I never saw him live. But recently, during a trip to Las Vegas, I was looking for some shows and I realized David Copperfield performs every freaking day. And literally 7 days a week, a show is at 7 p.m., another show at 9:30. And on Saturdays, I believe there's an earlier show at 4 as well. So if you are in Las Vegas visiting, more than likely you'll have an opportunity to check out David Copperfield if you're interested after this review. And I'm going to talk about the show that I went to. It was a 9:30 showing on a Wednesday evening. Before I went, I looked at some reviews. I watched some YouTube videos ranking shows in Las Vegas, talking about the best and the worst shows. And David Copperfield was not looked upon favorably. They talked about how he does not have it anymore. He doesn't care. He's phoning it in. And the show is terrible. So, I went in with low expectations, but I still wanted a chance to at least one time see David Copperfield perform live. The auditorium, or whatever you would call it, is full of mostly tables. There are some rows in the very back. If you're going solo like I did, you can get a seat there. And there's a chance they'll move you up into a better seat and a better location. Turned out I got a table all to myself. There are signs on every table that tell you no recording, no video, no photography. It is strictly enforced. There are employees who walk around with a sign during the show, checking, making sure nobody's recording. And if they catch somebody, they'll make you delete it from your phone and they'll kick you out of the show. But with that said, how was the actual show? David Copperfield at the MGM Grand. I'm going to start with the positives, and I'm going to say right when David came out, I was surprised at his energy, at his charisma. I'm not saying he had the most energy in the world. I'm not saying he was prime David Copperfield 1980s, but he was fine. I mean, I would never have guessed, based on his energy levels, based on his humor, based on the way that he was interacting with the crowd, I would have never thought that he has been performing this same show pretty much every single day, 7 days a week, multiple times per day for God knows how many years, 10 plus years. I have no idea, but I was looking at the reviews going back to 2018, 2017, and they would describe the same show I saw. So they've been doing this show very close to the exact same show for many, many, many years. I would have never guessed. I certainly couldn't do it. I'd be completely checked out by this point. So yeah, at least the first half of the show, I thought he did very fine as far as charisma, as far as his energy. And yes, he involved the crowd, made some jokes. There were some good laughs at the beginning. There were some that weren't so great, which I'll get to in the negatives. There was some humor that I didn't like so much, but there was a lot that I did. I literally laughed out loud a few times. But as far as the magic, there were some amazing illusions, that at least a couple that had my jaw on the floor. I mean, I was just like, how the F did that just happen? Now, obviously, if you came to the show every day, you could probably eventually figure it out because you know what's going to happen. You don't really see what's coming. So you're watching the show and then all of a sudden something disappears or something happens or something appears out of nowhere and whoa. So yeah, their illusions that were there were mostly pretty damn entertaining and pretty amazing. The production quality, top notch. Great sound, great visuals, a lot of money put into this. And again, yes, they do the same show every single night, multiple times. They got it on complete repeat, which I'll get into. But if you're going for the first time and you don't know what to expect, as far as you're concerned, most of it is going to be new and unexpected. But it's amazing production quality. And for the most part, with some exceptions I'll talk about, they do, David Copperfield and all the employees who are working with him make it seem like they're doing something for you for the first time. It doesn't seem like they've been doing it night after night for a number of years. It doesn't really feel that way. So that's good. Although certain aspects of the show kind of do, which I'll get to in a minute. But for the most part, when it comes to the big illusions, they're pretty well done. The staff was very friendly to me. I've read some horror stories and other reviews, but the staff was certainly friendly to me. There was one gentleman who was working there, made me feel real special. He was cool. He's like, hey, come on, man, let me get you a better seat. You know, he took me in there and you like this one here? Hey, table's all yours. You know, stuff like that. Like, it was really cool. So as far as I'm concerned, I didn't order any food. I didn't order any popcorn, and a lot of people did. David Copperfield was eating from someone's popcorn for a little. That was pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, the staff was cool. And it's a chance to see a legend. It's a chance to see David Copperfield. I don't think you're going to walk out completely pissed off. Although I can't say for sure. Some people have. If you look at the reviews, it's worth it. An hour and a half. I don't feel like you'll feel like you wasted your life. I feel like it's an hour and a half of seeing David Copperfield, one of the greatest illusionists of all time. You know, he was a great magician. I mean, this guy is up there right now. You know, in the 80s and 90s, he was the Houdini of that time. So, you know, just chance to go see this guy live, I say go for it. And I think you'll enjoy the show for the most part. But that doesn't mean it was perfect. I said some of the humor I didn't love. There was some adult humor, some gross humor, some gay humor, some this, you know, just, you know, a gay guy kind of dancing, doing to pretend like he was going to do a strip tease that lasted for like a minute. I mean, I was like, damn, how long are we going to do this? So like some of that, I wasn't feeling it. You know, and I'm not like I was offended. I'm not offended by it, but I was like, it wasn't funny to me. And it wasn't really what I was looking for in a David Copperfield show. But there's quite a bit of adult humor. And a large portion of the show is this storyline. I won't get into the details of it, but it's supposed to be heartfelt. It's supposed to be deep. It's supposed to be dramatic. But you don't feel any of that. It involves David Copperfield's life, his upbringing, and things like that. But you don't feel any heartfelt, any emotion from it because of David's line delivery. He's either the worst actor in the world or he's kind of checked out as far as repeating those lines. He just does it with absolutely zero emotion, zero effort, it doesn't seem. So that's the point in the show where I see what people are talking about. I'm guessing the difference is other parts of the show, there's a little more ad lib because he's dealing with different people every day in the audience. So he has a chance to make people laugh in somewhat different ways every night. No show is going to be the same, but this portion of the show is exactly the same. So that's where you kind of see that when people say he's just checked out, he's just phoning it in. That's where you would see some of that during that conversation he has with this little alien, and that entire storyline just kind of falls short. And the alien speaks, but those are pre-recorded lines. So there's a big contrast because the alien's talking and his lines are very, very well done because they were recorded with some genuine effort back when they first wrote this entire screenplay. But David's lines are just complete, just no effort, no emotion, no energy. And that entire storyline just kind of falls short. Although there are some cool illusions within the storyline, which is what people came to see. There are some moments where they'll show an audience member on the big screen that you're watching there and for humorous effects, but I get the sense that was planted, that audience member was part of the show. And I kind of got that confirmed reading reviews. So there's some parts of the show that feel kind of staged. There's some parts of the show that feel very much planned. And overall, when you kind of look back, it does feel like the show in its entirety is probably a little stale. They probably need to update this whole show, pretty much scrap it, maybe keep a couple illusions, but they need to just come up with something completely new, which is tough to do since they perform every single day. So you don't have time. I would understand, there's not time to come up with a new show. But even though, like I said, when they do some of the big illusions, it does feel pretty fresh. They do a good job of making the audience feel like it wasn't done a billion times. But the show as an entirety, there are some parts of it that feel pretty staged. There's a young man who's part of the show early on in the show I read reviews going back 6-7 years that say the same thing happened where this guy had a dream. His sister who passed away had a dream of being a part of a David Copperfield illusion. And now this guy's going to do it for his sister. This guy was his lines when he was talking like he'd said these lines 8 million times. So I'm saying there are portions of the show that do feel stale. There are a couple illusions that do feel kind of overdone, even if you're watching it for the first time. But most of them are pretty fresh. And I would say ultimately there was a lot of spectacle, a lot of big set pieces, which were cool and everything. There was a lot of jokes, a lot of humor. But I just felt, although I said yes, there were a couple of amazing illusions, I don't think there was enough. Not enough magic. Not enough magic, not too much sleight of hand. Most of the tricks were big, which is David Copperfield's thing. I mean, he made the Statue of Liberty disappear, so he's not out there to do card tricks or something. I understand that, but they're just, the illusions were kind of few and far between. For an hour and a half show, there was maybe 5 or 6 that I could repeat to you, which you could tell that's one every 15 minutes? One every 10 to 15 minutes. So I felt that could have been a little more magic, a few more illusions, but it's not to say there were barely any. There were quite a few. It was certainly a magic show, but was there just as much stand-up comedy? Was there just as much joking? Was there just as much adult humor? Was there just as much of a storyline, supposed to be a heartfelt storyline? Pretty much, there was all of that was in here. So you could call this a magic show with a heartfelt storyline and some humor. You could also call it a heartfelt storyline with some humor and a magic show attached to it. You could also call it maybe a stand-up comedy routine with some magic thrown in and a storyline thrown in. I don't know. There was kind of a lot of all of that. So I wish it was more focused on the magic. But at the end of the day, there were some awesome illusions. David you're going to be surprised at the energy he does have, especially if you're expecting him to come out here like, hey guys, that's kind of what I expected from the reviews, and that wasn't what I got at all. Although his line delivery when he does the acting is, there's no effort whatsoever. So that's about all I can say. I mean, I think overall, I'm going to give his show a 7 out of 10. I would recommend it. Go see a legend. Check it out. David Copperfield, Las Vegas every day. I mean, he probably takes a week or 2 vacation a year, I would assume. So make sure when you go, just double check that he will be performing. But if you're going anytime soon, he'll probably be performing. Obviously, he's not going to do it forever. I don't know when you're watching this video. He's 68 years old as I'm recording this. So, if it's 10 years from now, he'll be 78. I have no clue if he'll still be performing or even alive. I mean, who knows? 78, he's getting up there in age. God forbid, I don't want anything to happen to him. I hope he can perform into his 70s and 80s. I think that'd be awesome. But they need to change up the show by then. Change up the show because it is aspects of it feel very stale. But other than that, you guys have a great day. Let me know what you think if you've checked out David Copperfield or if you're going to. Like I said, it's not perfect. I'm sure there are better shows. If you only have time to watch one show in Las Vegas, maybe this isn't the one to see. But if you're going to be there for 2 or 3 days, check him out. Check out David Copperfield. Do it. MGM Grand. Right on the casino floor. It's not too hard to find. I struggled a little bit to find it. I walked around the casino, but before I could ask anybody, I just ran into it. I was like, oh, there it is. So check him out. Let me know what you guys think. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for checking out the video. We'll talk to you in the next one.